his relationships with Billy and Dana was beautiful because they were three, and he had this thing, you know, the Twine Men, which was a cartoon that he drew, and it was all about the difficulties of relationship and being in a band, and how the three of them would come together and they'd be rolled up in a ball of twine. And there's like a fantastic comic series, you know, that, you know, that came out of that whole concept. It was Mark's concept of how he viewed his band, and they'd be all twined up together, and then sometimes things would unravel and they'd come apart, but no matter what, they'd always end up rolled up back together. And that was really his relationship with Billy and Dana. You know, I think that his musicians were his band of brothers, you know, and that was his family, and the musical community was his family, and that was what he always came home to. They were in the family of musicians and artists and creators, and he took care of them. You know, he loved them.
Agora vamos tocar uma canção chamada Cure for Pain.
Well, we're just beginning our encores right now, ladies and gentlemen. All the extra bonus songs begin right now. Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, gente. Fantástico. Obrigado. Para vocês.
Tout ça va? I don't know. Here's a song called Cure for Pain, and it goes like this.
Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado.
Bonne nuit, mon petit.
No, he would tell us when he got acclaim as a musician. He would send us notices and tell us to listen or invite us to come. He did invite us to come to his gigs.
He didn't pay any attention to it because it didn't seem conceivable to us. It turned out later that it was true.
Good morning. We went out last night. Stayed up pretty late. We can see that.
We never gave him credit for being a musician in that sense. We didn't have any feeling for it.
I mean, his father's a businessman, and Mark was an incredibly shrewd businessman. He may have been creative. I mean, he was very creative, but he was also very shrewd. And I felt like his father would really kind of could relate to him on that level.
He and Sabine sort of became, you know, closer together and more committed. I think his idea of family, you know, also became more important to him, his own biological family, and he was making more attempts to be at home with his mother and father. And
he was living a slightly more conventional life or something with me that his mother could relate a little bit more. We had them over for dinner, and she just was thrilled to see that the house was set up nicely and that we could set a nice table. And so it meant a lot to her. It was important.
And I just think, you know, after the fact, having read Tell's book, having a better understanding of what they went through as parents to lose, you know, two boys, I just can't imagine going on from there.
Last night I told a stranger all about you. They smiled patiently with disbelief. I always knew you would succeed no matter what you tried, and I know you did it all in spite of me.
The fact that they might not have been, you know, as aware of what Mark was doing, and that Mark maybe wasn't so keen on bringing them into what he was doing.
I'm proud to have known you for the short time that I did. Proud to have been a step up on your way. Proud to be a part of your illustrious career, and I know you did it all in spite of me.
I understand, you know, and I think at the end they started to come to terms and get a little bit more closer to each other, and that was good to see. It was a softening of Mark that I hadn't seen the time that I knew him.
You seem so close, but yet so cool. For a long time I thought you'd be coming back to me. Those kind of thoughts can be so cruel, so cruel.
He said to Tell, I did it for you, Mom.
I wrote that in a book.
Well,
And I know you did it all in spite of me. In spite of me.
Pallestrina is it predates Roman culture. It's a little village on top of a mountain that's impossible to get to. No trucks, only like a pickup truck can, like a little tiny pickup truck can even get up there.
Actually, Pallestrina is one of the most ancient towns in Italy. It's pre-Roman. So this city, this little town is very, very old. My main job actually with Morphine and with the other bands was picking them up at the airport, so the welcoming part, and then bringing them to the festival and start making them feel comfortable there.
Billy, Mark, and myself, having just come from Portugal, where it was really, really hot, and it was just, wow, we finally got a chance to stop for a minute and you know, sitting under the trees up there drinking a glass of wine and just thinking, wow, this is great. This is fantastic. How do we not know about this?
People that now are 40, 45 and they have son and they still come here, and then there are people like me that are 24, people 18, 19 that just come to help. This is the good thing, because we don't do this for money, so we just do this for passion.
He felt a sense of connection to these people before, you know, in his decision to come.
We appreciate the community life, and we consider ourselves as a family.
I thought there were gonna be these rock stars coming in, and instead I got to the airport and there were happy people, smiley, very, very easy, and Mark was very easy himself.
And as soon as I met him, you know, I felt so comfortable.
He just was touched by their enthusiasm and their passion for music. Something in them just stirred him.
He started speaking Italian straight away, and the whole trip from the airport to Pallestrina, he was like, and how do you say this? How do you say that?
What's this place? What is it about? What's the festival? Tell me, tell me.
He wanted to know how people lived here.
He started to you know, tell us about his life. He told everything about his life. That he was working in Alaska as a fisherman, you know, all those things. By the end of the day, we almost knew everything.
Di realizzare le attrezzature tecniche e scientifiche che permetteranno all'Europa il suo posto nella corsa allo spazio.
It was brutal. It was like about 100 degrees. We did an early sound check. I remember hearing the bass and the drums being played at the same time. Oh shit, I'm late for sound check. And then I'm on my way down and I see Billy there. I said, what are you doing here? I thought you were playing drums. He goes, I'm not playing drums. Went down the stage and there's Mark sitting on the drum chair, you know, boom, kick, it's like just playing the drums and the bass at the same time while sitting in the drum throne. It was just like, wow, he's ready to go, you know, he wants to play, this is great, he's excited, he's happy.
Well, a lot of people over this hill, it's crowded. People are sitting everywhere. And it was an amazing night, really hot.
I guess it was about 7 songs in and we started Super Sex, and I just remember being on stage left and looking over and kind of seeing Mark's knees buckle and just not really putting it together, you know, that he was having a hard trouble. He just fell over backwards with his bass still attached to him, and he hit the ground and the bass hit the ground and the bass amp just reverberated. You know, I just remember putting my sax down and going over there and just yelling at him to hang in there, you know, hold on.
And then the silence. That's what I remember. 5,000 people in silence.
Sandman, the lead singer and bassist of the Boston-based trio, suffered a fatal heart attack on Saturday, July 3rd, while performing at a music festival near Rome, Italy. His death was a shock to those who knew him. He was only 46 years old. He was not known to have any serious health problems or heart condition.
I was faced with the challenge and the task of telling his family, you know, Bob and Tell Sandman, and his sister, and Sabine.
When this truck pulled up to the house I was staying in, this guy got out with a piece of paper and said, you know, is Sabine here? It took a while to really just absorb the details or find out what happened. When the news got out and was in the papers, it just started trickling back from people outside of our circle that people thought it was a drug-related death. But anyone who knew him knew that that's just something that he didn't believe in at all. He had survived and his brothers had not, so he really did not have any interest in drugs on that level. You know, we were all in absolute agreement that there was no doubt to the fact that he died from some kind of heart trouble.
And then what happened next, you know, was really important to us. Then a goalie shouting and crying at the moon at night there, 5 o'clock in the morning, you know. We tried to be close to them, ease their pain as much as it would be possible, if it would ever be possible. And that's what it always done, basically. Simply being cared towards somebody who was living maybe the worst moment in their lives.
They immediately told us what had happened. And, I mean, I'm not really too sure how to describe how stunned I was, but we didn't know what to do.
And the next day, sitting on the couches, the next band that was coming in was Queens of the Stone Age. And I had never heard of them before. But as they had been alerted to what had happened on the way in from the airport, and they got to the hotel, and as they were coming in, they just immediately somehow knew what to say.
I went up to Dana and said, whatever you want us to do. Doesn't matter if it's play or not play, or help or not help. Like, sit up all night, whatever you want to do.
They're like, no, you have to do it, you have to play. This is the way it should be, you know, the show must go on. As hokey as that sounds, it's really the best way to honor, you know, Mark is to keep rocking, keep playing. And they just, I remember I didn't go down to the stage because I couldn't go back down. But I remember sitting in my hotel room alone, just listening to to Queens of Stone Age playing. And it just sounded like the Marines had landed, you know. It felt like the American Red Cross had just come, and it was just kind of an emotional airlift.
I don't think I've ever tried so hard to play, you know, trying to like muster up something or figure out how do I do more than I normally would do. How do I, you know, I don't even think we necessarily played well because we tried so hard. I mean, I think it was okay, but I just remember being like, how can I do this more, you know?
And just thinking to myself, this is the best fucking music I've ever heard in my life. This is like getting in a Camaro and stepping on the gas and going as fast as you possibly can. You know what I mean? This is what I really need right now.
I just, you know, it was such a crazy thing. I don't want to ever go through that again.
You really have to cling to what really speaks to you and what really is the right thing, and doing what you can to pick yourself up and keep on and move, you know, and do what's right in the memory of your friend.
Dana Collins, ladies and gentlemen. Grazie. You know, I just wanted to say something. You know, it's been 10 years, and I just felt like I should probably attempt to say something.
in your language.
What really happened when Mark died was a really close and tight musical community just got tighter.
Well, you know, at Mark's funeral, to watch his parents, to understand, to watch his sister, and to be like, this woman has laid 3 sons in the grave? What the fuck? You gotta be, you know, you couldn't wrap your head around the pain.
It forced people to look at each other and celebrate the fact that we had each other, and we had a family, and we had a community, and we had each other to get through losing him. Instead of blowing apart, it got closer. People depended on each other more. They helped each other through what was clearly a hard time for all kinds of people in all kinds of places.
Why? Why so much tragedy in one family? It was unbearable.
But I always felt that one of the most amazing things about his music. Sorry.
È chiaro che questo è un posto speciale, un luogo sacro. Ancora non sappiamo quanto sacro sarebbe diventato.
Were we surprised at his success? Yes. Were we pleased? Yes.
We were really most surprised after he died, when all the magazine and newspaper articles poured forth, lauding his career, about which we knew relatively little.
You know, they just didn't understand the emotional connections. There was a real emotional disconnect, and part of me thought, you know, the way that Billy and Dana approached them, you know, with so much love and so much deference and so much, you know, such an open heart, and I thought, wow, here's an opportunity. These 2 boys that were kind of like brothers to Mark, in a sense, surrogate brothers. Here they have an opportunity to form kind of this like beautiful bond with these 2 men who loved their son. Having lost all of these sons, I thought that they're like, you know, but that almost seemed just ridiculously romantic. Like, how could we possibly think something so beautiful could happen?
It's interesting how over the years the various combinations of the things people have said about it and the things, you know, how your memory puts things together in a certain way that I hardly ever think about it without thinking about what Joe Strummer said, which is, if you're a musician and you love what you're doing and your time comes, and it happens when you're doing what you love in a beautiful place on a beautiful night. That's what poetry's for, you know?
Quando Mark si è lasciato, voi ci avete abbracciato. Dimentichiamo mai il calore che ci avete donato. Ora con i nostri figli siamo tornati a casa a Pallestrina per cantare all'amore e per ricordare. Grazie.
He was somewhere between 21 and 45, and no one really knows. No one ever knew how old Mark was. Very Dorian Gray was a Mrk Sndmn.
You're the night light, a little girl lost in the woods. You're a folktale, the unexplainable.
He would have been very popular right now with the vampire craze, when they found out he was actually a vampire. He's 500 years old when they buried him.
The one that keeps the curtains close.
I woke up at 6 a.m. to just one of those kind of thunderstorms where it was just, you know, crack, just thunder, just explosions, like literally woke me up.
I can't make it on my own.
At 6:15 or something, my girlfriend called and said, Sandman died. So I kind of figured there was a lot of stuff like that that happened to a lot of people. I mean, you may find as you talk to people that they all had their little weird thing that happened. I'm perfectly willing to believe he was throwing thunderbolts at me just to, on the way out, just like, fuck you.
I hope you're waiting for me across your carpet of stars. You're the night, Lila. You're everything that we can't see. Lila, you're the possibility. You're the bedtime story, the one that keeps the curtains closed. And I hope you're waiting for me, 'cause I can't make it on my own. I can't make it on my own.
Can't say much about any of that. It's just that, like, you know, Jeff Buckley passed, and that was really hard. Sandman passed, and Elliott Smith. It's like you know, you take the three most original musicians of a generation and remove them from that. It's like at a certain point you have to you got to throw up a white flag, you know.
I miss him much, though. He was a very happening cat. We lost a brother.
And he and Sabine had put some money down on a house. They were going to get married. He was going to settle. He was going to write a will and contracts for the group and all that sort of stuff.
When they got back, but it never happened.
He never came back.
Unknown, unlit world of old, you're the sounds I never heard before. Off the map where the wild things grow, another world outside my door. Here I stand, I'm all alone. Drive me down the pitch black road. Lila, you're my only home, and I can't make it on